Hi, my name is Jennifer Leita, and I'm the academic advisor for the Department of Health and Human Development. And one of the programs that I get to advise for is our Physical Education and Health P-12 program. And so today I just want to tell you a little bit about the major, answer questions about how to apply to the major, when to apply, things I should be taking before becoming a major, classes I'll take when I'm a major, and I'd like to share a little bit about the student experience and what they have to say about their time throughout the program. So a little bit about us. Our physical education program is also a part of our kinesiology program. So our joint major, or our joint mission statement for our majors is the kinesiology and physical education program develop graduates who make informed decisions about human movement and performance that foster health and physically active lifestyles for themselves and for others. To this end, faculty are dedicated to quality teaching, scholarship, and service. So who should consider joining the PEH program, and what is our major really about? Our program is designed for students who want to pursue a career as a physical education teacher at a variety of levels. So once students have completed our program, they will be credentialed to teach physical education and health education to students from preschool through grades 12. And so this is designed to support them towards those end goals. What classes do PE majors take? PEH majors, really it's such a unique experience because they're taking courses from across disciplines to give a really holistic understanding and approach to health, wellness, and human movement. So this involves taking a mix of classes from both our physical education department, where students will be learning methods and practica as it relates to elementary teaching methods, middle school teaching methods, as well as high school physical education teaching methods. This is involved in both hands-on learning approaches. There'll be practicum and experiences that students gain from working with schools in our communities, as well as a mix of courses from our kinesiology program. So students will be grounded in principles of a deep understanding of human movement, stemming from required courses that include anatomy and physiology, human growth and motor development, exercise physiology, and functional anatomy. Students will also take courses involving motor control and learning, as well as strength and conditioning program design, and courses about the psychosocial aspects of sport participation, including psychology of sport and sociology of sport. In addition, students will be taking classes from our health education program. So they'll be taking classes that will equip them to be effective educators in topics such as society and sex, drugs, nutrition, overall health promotion, and disease prevention, as well as taking classes from our secondary education college, where they'll learn overall principles with appropriate teaching methods and classroom management as well. So this really great umbrella of specifics of sound teaching practices. Philosophically, how does that play out in classroom settings as it pertains to physical education and health, as well as content area from some of the best around. So in general, a timeline for completing this program. As you can see, there's a lot of classes that go into this. While it's one major in one program, its workload is really comparable to students that are taking almost a major and a minor, or a double major in some of their programs, because we're wanting to equip and prepare our students with the variety of courses that they'll need to help them be effective educators, not only from a content-based perspective, but also from a teaching style and methods perspective as well. So to do that, it is a comprehensive program. Generally, students apply when they are entering the fall of their junior year, and it's 2 full years of academic coursework that happens in a sequence. This is a cohort-based program, so applications happen just once a year. Students that are admitted into the program move through the program as a cohort. So they're working through this with a built-in support network of peers who are going through that shared experience. Usually PEH majors are taking classes all together. Most of the time they're taking the same courses at the same time, and it's such a great experience for the students who are a part of that program, and it's something that I hear over and over as one of the things that they love most, is to be able to have that support system, that network of I'm always going to have somebody who has my back if I'm homesick and I need notes for a class, or who can help me study for that physiology exam, but that they always have that support system. And so they really have a deep set of connections and relationships that also carries them after their time in the program as well, to have already built in that support system and a network of other physical educators that they can bounce ideas off of, or share thoughts and ideas with, or just be able to have connections for establishing themselves as a professional. So it's something that the students in our major really, really value. So it's a full 2 years of academic coursework once of time in the major. So traditionally that's coursework in fall, winter, and spring of a traditional junior year in college, as well as fall, winter, spring of senior year. Upon conclusion of all coursework, students will also complete a mandatory 14-week student teaching experience. Those can happen within Whatcom County, but they can also happen around Washington State and even across other states or globally potentially as well. So there's a variety of ways that students can be placed in their student teaching experience once their coursework has concluded. So for students who are passionate about becoming physical educators, who have a heart to teach movement and health principles to students in a P-12 setting, what should you do before you become a PEH major? First and foremost, I always encourage students to be thoughtful and proactive in completing their GURs. The PEH major courses happen in sequence, which means it becomes really, really important to protect that time in your junior and senior year to be able to take the courses that you need at the times that you need to take them. And they're full quarters. I'll show you kind of an overview of the plan of study of what it looks like for a typical PEH major to move through their coursework during their time in the major. And really, it doesn't support being able to also work through GURs. So most students need to complete their GURs entirely or be very, very close to completing them before they apply for the major. So working on GURs and being thoughtful in moving through those is really important. I really recommend that students take Biology 101 during their freshman year. It's really helpful, but certainly by their sophomore year. It's a GUR, but it's also going to be a prerequisite for one of our required courses in the major. We require Biology 348 for our PEH majors, which is Human Anatomy and Physiology. And so it's important that we get that Bio 101 prereq out of the way to keep students on track during their time in the major to graduate on time. During your freshman year is also a great time to be thinking about options for gaining work experience. On a whole host of fronts, obviously, to make yourself an attractive applicant to the major, it's helpful to have a variety of experience working with youth. Certainly in movement settings like coaching youth kids camps, but also if we can start to get experience volunteering and working with kids in a classroom setting or in our K-12 school systems, that's really, really helpful. So this is a good time to start thinking about that. How and where can I start developing or gaining that experience to help improve my my standing as an applicant, but I think more importantly, to gain experience of determining if this is the right path for you. It's sometimes students get in love with the idea of becoming an educator, but the practicality and the reality is maybe something different than what they were expecting. And so more time we can get gaining exposure to either be affirmed that this is the path for us, or to cause us to question, like, what about this was first compelling to me and I find maybe challenging or doesn't fit my style now, so that I can talk to advisors and find a path that is a good fit for me. So those are great things to be working on through GURs, is starting to think about experience, working on getting Bio 101 taken out of the way as well. During student sophomore year, I really encourage them, and you're welcome to meet with me when you're a freshman as well, but certainly by the time you're a sophomore, I would encourage you to meet with me, set up a time when we're in a traditional learning setting. I will be in my office, which is in the Carver Academic Facility in room 201A, and so you can come by and see me there or schedule a meeting. I'll have my contact info at the end of our presentation, so you can have my email and contact info there. But it's important to meet with me, and then at that time we talk about a little bit about the journey to become a major, and then I'm able to work with you to declare your pre-major status in PEH. A pre-major status allows you to start to register for some of the classes that you have access to prior to becoming a major. So you can start to take some of the 100 and 300 level health ed courses that are a requirement for our program. Start learning those concepts, as well as being proactive of when you're working through GURs of what ways to take productive classes that are helping towards major fulfillment and potentially enabling you to have lighter credit loads during your time in the major. So when schedules allow, being able to register for those classes is really helpful and productive. Definitely want to finish out any remaining GURs that sophomore year so that your time in your junior and senior year can really be dedicated to major coursework. Also, for getting ready, and this is a time when we're wanting to be getting ready as an applicant, it's kind of time to start checking some of those boxes on the things that need to be done. And this is a great time if you're a student who, if you've never taken the ACT or SAT, then we'll need to have you take a different standardized exam to be considered as an applicant into the Woodring College of Education, and that's called the West-B exam. And there's 3 subsections that you'll take for that. And so if you are a student who you took the ACT or SAT in high school, you do not need to take the West-B exam. But if you did not, then this is the time that we'll want to take that exam so that you have those scores to be considered along with your application materials for access and for the admission into the major. So how do you become a PEH major then? In applying for the PEH major, I like to help students understand that really you're applying for admission into 2 programs simultaneously. So you are going to need to apply both to the Woodring College of Education, which is Western's overall teachers ed college on campus. And so students need to apply to that by their application deadline of September 1st prior to your junior year. So this means why I really encourage students to come and talk to me when you're a sophomore is because this deadline of September 1st, your junior year, actually occurs before the start of our fall calendar. So I'll try to equip you and send you on your way with everything that you'll need so that there's nothing kind of lingering or questions or concerns, particularly for students who live out of state and if gaining access to those resources or references, if that becomes a challenge, I want to make sure that you have everything that you need to submit your application materials a couple months ahead of time. So yes, application to Woodring is due by September 1st, and that's going off to kind of Woodring's board that evaluates their applicants. And then you'll also be applying for admission into our program, which is the PEH program, and that application is due during the first 2 weeks of fall quarter. So 2 different applications to be submitted to 2 different departments. To continue in the major, to officially be declared a major, you'll have to be accepted by both Woodring's College of Education as well as our PEH program. So students apply kind of that start of fall quarter, their junior year. At that time, also, their pre-major status allows them to register for courses that they'll need to take fall quarter as a PEH pre-major and as an applicant. So during that fall quarter of junior year, students need to take PE 340, which is a teaching methods course, Health Ed 151, Biology 348, which is Human Anatomy and Physiology, and Kinesiology 308, which is Human Growth and Motor Development. So these 4 courses are expected to be taken in that first quarter into the program. For students who are accepted into the major, they'll continue on to be able to take the rest of their major coursework beginning winter quarter of their junior year. So fall quarter is pre-major status while we wait for those applications to be processed and for final determinations to be made on who's in that PEH cohort for the year. And then students will continue throughout their winter and spring quarters of junior year with their coursework there, and then fall, winter, spring of their senior year, finishing out that coursework usually by spring quarter, which allows them to student teach. Most students are able to do their student teaching in that fall, what would be after their senior year, so kind of a fall of 5th year, if you will. That brings me then to course sequencing for what your time in the PEH major looks like. So as I was talking about that pre-major status, you'll see kind of over here, this is that first quarter when you're applying for admission into the program. So in fall quarter, kind of how that goes is you'll have submitted your application prior to fall quarter starting. You'll be working on, then you'll be registering and taking these courses in fall quarter as well as submitting your PEH application at that time. So that's this, you'll see classes that are required to be taken during that quarter here, and then you'll see total credits for the quarter as well. So as students move through, you'll kind of see that progression. So this is that blend of PE classes are physical education, teaching methods and styles as it pertains to physical education classroom settings. SCC are secondary education classes that are happening in Woodring's College of Education. So working up principles of education and theory. And then kin classes are our kinesiology classes. So those are classes dealing with specifics on human movement. So kin 312 is, for example, is functional anatomy, where we're learning muscle origin and insertion and muscle actions during that time. And so you can kind of see how this lays out. And as I said, it's definitely a busy major. It's 2 full years of coursework. So you'll see that I've highlighted some classes in gray. Those are our health ed classes. Students are able to start registering and taking health ed classes, the HLED courses, once they have been declared a PEH pre-major. So for students who are really pretty confident that PEH is the path that they want to go on, and they know that as a freshman, it's absolutely okay to come and declare your PEH pre-major status at that time. And that will allow you to start taking some of those health ed classes in advance. Again, priority is always to getting GURs done, but if there's room in schedule to allow for taking some of those classes, maybe later in your freshman or throughout your sophomore year, it can be really helpful. As what you see is if we can have you access those classes a little bit earlier, what we can do is it can lighten up that overall quarterly credit load. So that allows students to be able to be successful. Additionally, I want to recognize that while this is a typical plan, there's a little bit of wiggle room for classes to happen out of sequence if need be. And so I'm here to support students in developing a plan in order to best meet their needs. So some classes that are offered need to happen in a certain sequence, but in others we sometimes have some flexibility, particularly in what classes, which quarters the kin classes are available. So for students who are able and willing to do some summertime coursework, I can also talk about deflecting some classes to summertime to allow them to have a lighter overall quarterly credit load to help them be as effective as possible. So this is a typical plan, but there's definitely some room to be able to customize that and make it work to your best experience as well. A little bit about our PEH faculty in particular. So we are privileged to be able to have 2 great staff who are going to shepherd you through their time in the program. We have Dr. Hilary Franks, who will be teaching the elementary teaching methods, and then Dr. Nick Washburn teaches the secondary ed method. So generally how that typically tends to work is you'll be working with Dr. Franks throughout coursework in your junior year, as that's the sequencing of the topics that you'll be learning, and then you'll move on with Dr. Washburn in the second year of your program. So they will be your guides, and they are amazing. So some typical questions I wanted to take some time to cover with that I hear from students when they're contemplating or thinking about working through the PEH major. Oftentimes, students want to know, can I work through the major at a faster pace and graduate earlier? So the short answer to that is no. In general, the courses happen in a certain sequence and they happen at a certain time. Usually they're only offered once a year. So courses that, particularly the PE courses, they have to happen in the sequence that they're outlined. So while we can change up the quarterly credit load to allow some classes, like kinesiology classes, to be taken out of sequence or to be taken over the summer or alternative times, those PE classes really can't move. They have to be in that plan. So based on that, knowing that each PE class has to happen each quarter at its designated time doesn't allow for those to be doubled up. So while we can certainly lighten quarterly credit loads, and we have for some students that are coming in that have completed some of the, for example, for the kinesiology requirements, or we cannot, we'll eliminate those from their plan. They can't actually move through the courses that they have at a faster pace. So no, unfortunately, you can't move through the major at a faster pace and graduate early. That 2 years is really a solid expectation of that's the time that it'll take to work through all the course load. And then again, the student teaching internship after that. And students graduate once their student teaching internship is completed. All the coursework has to be done before student teaching. After student teaching, students receive their credentials at that time. Another question that will often get asked is, it's not uncommon for students to come and consider pursuing a degree in PEH as a career change. It happens a lot, actually. So I'll have students that have received a bachelor's degree in another area, sometimes other teachers who are looking at pursuing a different content area, and they want to know, I've already earned a bachelor's degree, could be in a related, could be in a totally different field. Is it possible for me to get my master's degree in teaching in PEH? And the answer to that is, the short answer to that is also no. It's not really an option at this time. Students who have already earned one bachelor's degree are welcome to come and study as what's called a post-baccalaureate student. in that you'll be earning a second bachelor's degree. It's a bachelor's of Arts in Education, and students that receive that are certified to teach grades preschool through grade 12. So while you're welcome to come and study, again, you typically are still going to be at a 2-year time commitment to move through the coursework, and you'll receive a second bachelor's degree as opposed to another master's. It is possible to receive master's in teaching in some other content areas, but it's not an option right now for PEH. Also, typical question I get is as students look at the estimated plan of study, it can look a little daunting, especially on paper, to see quarters planned out that have 18 credits or potentially 19 credits happening. And I want to be there to support students as much as I can. I know that that's a lot. And so while we can do, and that's why I want to be here, to be able to support students in moving courses around or deflecting some classes to summer, or being able to help them declare for that pre-major early to allow them to take some classes prior to coming into the major that will lighten up that quarterly credit load. So those are some ways that we can kind of problem solve that, particularly for students who know themselves to be successful when they take classes at a little bit of a lower credit load. If you find that you are most capable and confident in your ability to succeed when you're at that 13 to 15 credit range, then that's definitely an option that I would pursue. And we can talk options for making that happen. So definitely I want to affirm you, it can feel a little bit scary, but we're here to support you in that process and help address your needs to the best that we can. And one of the greatest things too is having that cohort, that support system of people around you, so that it's not something that you're going through by yourself, but that you're able to team up and ally with some other people who have the same goals and interests that you do as well. And that support system is really, really helpful of going through it and meeting the challenges of these courses combined. Where can you get more info about our PEH program? Well, certainly you can contact me. You can see my contact info there. Email address is a great way. It's probably the most efficient way to get a hold of me. When we are in our traditional environment, you'll be able to access me in my office in the Carver Academic Building. I'm at 201A. I'm also available for phone and video conference advising sessions. You can schedule either a phone advising appointment or a Zoom advising appointment with me while we're working remotely by visiting my calendly.com page and scheduling a time that's convenient for you. And definitely, though, I would encourage you to check out all the information on our website. Lots of resources and links to information about what does Woodring's application look like, and what does the regular PEH application look like, and what are timelines, and how can I be supported in this process. So definitely a ton of resources that I would encourage you to look through. And then if I can help kind of answer any questions or address any concerns or speak to specifics in your situation, I'm happy to be of service to you. And I definitely look forward to welcoming you into our program and answering any questions that you might have. Take care.